The following is an excerpt from the article, Discover the Japanese Art of Mindful Living, 10 Powerful Concepts for a More Meaningful Life, by Shamash Aladina. From this article, I want to highlight 3 exceptionally powerful concepts for conscious and intentional self-centering. One concept is ma, or the power of pause. Ma refers to the intentional use of space, silence, and stillness. In Western cultures, we often associate this empty time with wasted time. But in Japan, pauses are seen as essential to creating meaning, whether in music, design, or daily life. And just as music is shaped by the spaces between notes, our lives are enriched by pauses between actions, conversations, and thoughts. Ma encourages us to slow down and embrace stillness, allowing clarity and creativity to emerge. So some ways that you can create Ma in your life. Pause before reacting. When faced with a challenging situation, take a deep breath before responding. Embrace silence. Allow moments of quiet in conversations rather than rushing to fill the gaps with words. And slow down transitions. Take time between tasks to reset and reflect, rather than jumping from one thing to the next. You can also create space in your surroundings. So declutter both your physical and mental space to invite simplicity and focus. Another concept I want to talk about is that of zanshin, or relaxed alertness. Zanshin is a concept from Japanese martial arts referring to a state of calm and focused awareness before, during, and after any action. It represents being fully present in whatever you do without tension, overthinking, or distraction. Some ways to cultivate zanshin. Stay fully engaged in your tasks, whether eating, writing, or exercising. Bring your full awareness to the experience. Let go of overanalysis. Trust the process instead of trying to control every single little detail. And use mindful transitions. Before starting a new task, pause and take a deep breath to reset your focus. And finally, I want to talk about wabi-sabi, or embracing imperfection. Wabi-sabi is about finding beauty in imperfection, simplicity, and the passage of time. It encourages us to let go of perfectionism and accept life as it truly is. You can let go of unrealistic expectations, as perfection doesn't exist. At least I don't know of any. What matters is authenticity. Also, appreciate natural imperfections. Art, relationship, life. Those imperfections are what make things unique. And finally, you can simplify your surroundings and mindset. Again, instead of perfections, focus on what truly matters to you. These are just 3 of the 10 concepts that Aladina identifies. Please follow the QR code labeled More Info About Japanese Mindfulness in the order of service to access the full blog post, which contains the other 7 concepts. Let's take a minute for some ma. Not a full minute. Just a little bit of pause before we jump into the reflections. Let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Or should I say, Ohayo gozaimasu. Again, I am Daniel Kabana Oforidankwa, and I'll give you a little bit of a background about me. My interest in Japanese culture and language stemmed from my enjoyment of Japanese video games, anime, and manga as a child. And they still persist today. I started taking formal classes in 2016, and I've been studying the language since, including studying in Japan at Fukuoka Foreign Language College for 1 year. Through my learning, I attained the Japanese Language Proficiency Test, JLPT N1 level, which is the highest level of the most widely known Japanese exam for non-native speakers. So I know just a little bit of what I'm talking about up here. I'm also striving to improve my business Japanese. Currently, I teach Japanese and manage data analytics at the Japanese Cultural and Community Center of Washington in Seattle. And this morning, I would like to explore the practice of Kan-jin in Japanese spirituality. Kan-jin means introspection or self-centering. While I'm introducing these concepts, I'd like you all to please think about how you can incorporate them into your own life and figure out what practices best serve you in your spiritual journey. And if we have some time at the end, I'll ask some of you to come up and share as well. So if we could continue to the next slide, please. So in Japanese, there's a popular phrase, kurushii toki no kami tanomi, which roughly translates to, once on shore, we pray no more. In other words, during times of trouble, people tend to turn to higher powers. But once that danger is past, those same higher powers tend to lose their influence. And while this occurs with individuals all over the world, I bring this up because specifically in Japan, many people follow religious traditions, but only for specific events as opposed to being fiercely devout. For example, at the beginning of every year, a majority of citizens participate in a ceremony called Hatsumode, where people go to shrines and temples to ask higher powers for blessings, protection, and good fortune. This is one of the few times during the year when a majority of the populace engages in prayer in Japan, differing from the Western practice of attending a weekly service. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So, recounting Japan's history, prior to World War II, Japanese faith traditions had a huge focus on the emperor. The emperor was actually revered as a god, and many ceremonies were dedicated to honoring them. So the image you see on your left, the image you see on your left is that of Emperor Meiji, who ruled Japan from 1867 until 1912. And when he started in 1968, he was only 15 years old, which I thought was interesting. However, post-World War II, Japanese religion shifted away from the worship of individuals and rather to a focus on Shintoism and Buddhism. So at the top right, you'll see an image of a Buddha statue, and at the bottom right will be an image of a Shinto shrine. Over time, Japanese belief systems have continued to incorporate various aspects, rituals, and ceremonies from other faiths, very much like Unitarian Universalism draws from many services and influences. Next slide, please. And now to speak a little bit more about Shintoism and Buddhism. So Shintoism originated in Japan, and while the teachings were passed down for many years in the BC era, the religion itself was not recorded and organized until around the 8th century. So that's around year 700. Shintoism revolves around the belief in many gods existing in nature and the environment, all around us. Seas, mountains, trees, even the rocks all around us. Those are some places where gods were thought to exist. On the other hand, Buddhism originated in India and came to Japan around the middle of the 6th century. Thought of as not just a religion, but also a philosophy, or even a way of life. Buddhism focuses on finding enlightenment through 4 noble truths, which I will try to pronounce correctly. Dukkha, the first being dukkha, meaning life involves inherent dissatisfaction. Second, samudaya. Dissatisfaction is caused by worldly cravings and attachment. Third, nirodha. Dissatisfaction can be overcome. And fourth, marga. Dissatisfaction is overcome through the Noble Eightfold Path, which includes things such as having the right mindfulness and taking the right actions. Also of note, in some translations, instead of the word dissatisfaction, the word suffering is used. And while Shintoism and Buddhism make up the core beliefs, so those 2 religions make up the core beliefs, traditions from other religions, such as, say, Christmas from Christianity, are also celebrated. In fact, religion in Japan has evolved so much with the times that you may even see people pray to the god of IT. Next slide, please. So, do. Do is a Japanese word that translates to path or way. And while it can mean a literal path that somebody travels on, or maybe the path you take to go to work, it has a deeper connotation to a spiritual path that one decides to follow. Now, there are traditional ways to form deep connections with one's spiritual path, such as meditating, for example. However, in Japanese culture, you can also center yourself through activities that cultivate a steady discipline through repetition and mastery of rituals and movements. For example, chado, or the Japanese tea ceremony, where the Japanese characters roughly translate to the path of tea. The same can be said for kendo, which loosely means the path of the sword. Even shodo, or the practice of calligraphy, which roughly translates to the path of drawing, is considered a path to spirituality. All of these paths are something to be discovered and cultivated. Now, I want you all to think back to the video that we watched during the Time for All Ages, where we learned about some of the different places that people go to find peace. With family, experiencing nature, drawing out by the waves, just out in the woods. There are an infinite number of non-traditional places where people can experience self-centeredness. And there are limitless possibilities to the activities that can drive spiritual discipline. Next slide, please. And now, I would also like us to refer back to the reading by Shamash Alidina, where the concepts of Ma, the power of pause, Zanshin, relaxed awareness, and Wabi-sabi, embracing imperfections, were highlighted. Integrating these best practices on self-centering can greatly benefit our lives. For example, when we talk about Ma, or the power of pause, I'm sure you all have heard the phrase, silence is golden. Just now, some of you may have experienced some discomfort or anticipation for what I would say next. Some of you may have even thought, are we really just going to sit here in silence? However, the practice of sitting with that stillness gives us time to pause and reflect on what we experience. This is especially true now in the age of constant information, tasks, and distractions. Now, when it comes to zanshin, or relaxed alertness, we focus on staying present and in the moment. While I'm sure everyone here is paying close attention to this reflection, zanshin is something that I work on every day, as again, there are just so many things that try to divert our attention. Finally, with wabi-sabi, or embracing imperfection, no human is perfect, as you can see. But by embracing our imperfections, we can free our minds from worry and self-criticism. This opens up space for us to focus on the things that truly matter and allow us to self-center. This is just like how Unitarian Universalism embraces, your whole self with all your truths and your doubts, your worries and your hopes. In our chalice lighting by John Wellwood, we were encouraged to sit down wherever you are and listen to the wind singing in your veins. This is the embodiment of the concepts of ma and zanshin. Revel in the silence and concentrate on the present. What are the sensations you are experiencing? What are your thoughts? How are you feeling? Wellwood continued with, open your heart to who you are right now. In other words, acknowledge and embrace your whole self, including your imperfections. And that is just an introduction to what embracing these Kan-jin practices can do for us. Now, in closing, I'd like us to do a quick exercise. I'd like you to think about your path, your dole. Where's your peaceful place? When do you pause and reflect, your ma? Are you present in the moment, zanshin? And I want you to think about appreciating who you are right now and looking forward to growing in your spiritual journey. Well, that is all for me. So I want to thank you all again, and I also want to thank my older sister, Connie, for inviting me to the service and for also just doing so much. So thank you, everyone.